Let's talk Memphis, Tennessee. I'm Dave Aronberg, aka the Florida Lawman, here on Legal AF with the resident legal diva, none other than Melba Pearson. How are you, Melba?
I'm doing well, Dave. How are you doing?
I'm good. Melba was a prosecutor like me. I mean, we're both former prosecutors. She also worked for the ACLU, so she's got that experience over me. And I know that you have some choice words about President Trump's move to send the National Guard and maybe some troops into Memphis, which, by the way, is considered one of, if not the most dangerous large cities in the country. But perhaps this is not the answer. What do you think about this, Melba?
Well, Dave, I believe last time I was looking at the stats, I think Memphis was number 4, number 5 in one of the most dangerous cities in the country. But here's what's so misguided. You have the president who has slashed funding for victims, for offenders in terms of rehabilitation programs, in terms of violence interruption and prevention programs. So you slash the money that would address the issue, and instead you just want to send troops in? That makes absolutely no sense. And the reality is effective policing involves the police having a relationship with the community. Because how do you get witnesses? How do you find out who did what? You got to talk to people. There's no other way, right? Like, yeah, you can do audio, get surveillance, look at people's phone records, all of that. But in order to connect the dots, you still need a human being to give you testimony. You know this, Dave, from our work as prosecutors, right? So if the law enforcement does not have a relationship with the community, how do you expect for cases to get prosecuted successfully? Especially when you have the National Guard just dropping in. They don't particularly know the local context. They don't know the local players. And they're just going to be an occupying force, which I don't see that helping anything. But hey, I'm willing to be wrong, Dave.
Well, it's easy for the president to do this in Washington, D.C. He's got jurisdiction there. Not so easy in other parts of the country. You do need to get some sort of buy-in from the governor. Perhaps that's why he's going to the red state of Tennessee, because you have a Republican governor who's welcoming it. And there are laws in place to prevent a chief executive from sending in the troops. The Posse Comitatus Act, which prohibits the use of the Army and Air Force for domestic law enforcement purposes. You've got the Insurrection Act, which is an exception to the Posse Comitatus Act, but has not been invoked here. So it's questionable whether you can send the National Guard in. They're supposed to perhaps help with the ICE officials there, federal officials, but not serve as officers, police officers, to do regular policing. So this is on shaky constitutional ground, but Trump likes to have this fight over crime. He wants to debate Democrats over crime. That's an issue he does well on, because his other issues that he ran on, like inflation, not going so well. How about the price of meat, Melba? Not good.
Yeah, and them eggs are still too damn high.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you got immigration, which people are not thrilled when they're seeing otherwise law-abiding citizens being shipped off. And so he's going back to the default, which is crime, which has worked for him. That's why I think as Democrats, the right approach is not to deny the fact that there are crime issues, but to say the answer is to fund the police. Let's have police. And, Bill Maher actually, and I know he's a controversial figure among some on Legal AF and might have such, but Bill Maher brought up an interesting point. He said that if you are a police officer, and generally it means most of them support Trump, how do you feel when Trump is essentially saying, you're not good enough to do your job, let's send in the troops. We need the military to do the job that the police otherwise will do. So, yeah, a lot of mixed messaging here.
Yeah. And here's another thing that's interesting. Days before the president announced that he was going to send troops into Memphis, Memphis law enforcement announced that their crime rates were at the lowest it had been in quite a long time. So their efforts were actually bearing fruit. They are trending in the right direction. And let's be clear, you can't clean up crime overnight. That is a fallacy. Thanks for playing. That does not have any place in the real world. It takes time and it takes strategy. For instance, Baltimore had been in the frame for a federal occupation, but they were talking about, listen, our homicide rates are the lowest it's ever been. The reason why is because Mayor Brandon Scott, for the last 18 months, had been strategically investing in the community. So it was making sure there were after school programs, making sure there's summer programs for youth so that they weren't on the street getting into trouble, making sure there were violence interrupters. So if they knew that folks were having beef, they would send credible messengers to come in, diffuse the situation. So that brought crime rates down. Really trying to figure out, listen, the majority of the crime in this city was committed by a small group of individuals. It's not a whole swath of people. It's usually a small group that cause all the problems. So they started doing targeted enforcement on that small group. That is smart policing. That's how you address these issues gradually over time. Dumping a bunch of soldiers in to a place where, again, they have no nexus, no connection, and no real duties. I mean, because you saw how well it went in California, where you had National Guards people sleeping on the floor because there was no preparation, no nothing. It was not done in collaboration with the state. And that's another reason why he backed away from what he was going to do in Chicago, because Governor Pearson in Illinois was having none of it. So now he's going to a more state that's more receptive. But again, it's not going to give the end game in terms of making the community safer as he's claiming. It's just going to create chaos.
Oh, it's a fair point. The Democratic mayor there in this red state actually had been talking with the governor's office about possibly getting more law enforcement officers through the FBI, the DEA, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the old ATF. So these conversations were happening, but that doesn't give Trump the political credit for it. So he wants it to be known that he is sending in the troops or the National Guard into these Democratic cities. That plays well for him, even though you had the mayor who was doing something about these issues by trying to reach out the normal means. But now, as you know, it's all about the show. It's not about the go. It's about the cosplay. It's about showing people where you are politically and getting those likes and those clicks, and not actually working together collaboratively to solve problems. That's where we are in 2025. It's sad, but this is emblematic of it. And by the way, since we're on the subject, hit that subscribe button. See, I fooled you. Hit that subscribe button. We're over 800,000 subscribers here to Legal AF and counting. Let's keep these videos going. So Melba, since I had that kind of awkward transition, what do you think the end game is here? Do you think that these National Guard soldiers are going to stay there long? You think that Trump will back out if there's a lawsuit pending? Or do you think he'll just stay there until they move on to another Democratic city?
Well, I think he's going to try and move forward because he can't take another loss right now, right? So Lisa Cook, for instance, he was going after her. It's made abundantly clear he got nothing there. He wanted
now Melba, Lisa Cook, just for our audience, Lisa Cook is the Fed governor who Trump wanted out. And they says because of mortgage fraud, which is the thing these days, that everyone's being investigated for mortgage fraud. Right now, it seems to be just Democrats, but okay. And the court said, no, that's not cause. You can't boot her when you're doing an investigation that does seem a bit partisan until you've actually at least indicted her or she's been found guilty. It's not for cause. So please continue, Melba.
Yes. And then the update on that was that they saw the AP News got copies of the documents she filed and there was no mortgage fraud, right? She properly declared her home residence and her second residence and it's all good. So he's getting these high profile losses. So he needs a win somewhere. So I think he's still going to move forward with sending in troops. But my concern at the end of the day is the community. And is the survivors, the victims, right? Because again, how is this going to help local law enforcement? How is this going to assist in the prosecution of crimes so that people can be held accountable and the community can be made safer? We don't need optics and craziness and all of that. We need safety. And what the president is doing is not bringing safety to our communities. So that's my thought on that.
Yeah, well, as to your point earlier, according to CNN, just days before Trump's announcement, Memphis police had reported significant progress when it came to crime, with drops in every major crime category in the first 8 months of 2025 compared with the same period in previous years. Overall crime hit a 25-year low, and murder a 6-year low, police said. And that's all true statistics, but it is also how people feel. And if people feel unsafe, that's a problem. But then how do you solve it? You solve it by funding the police. You solve it by working with federal agencies. You don't solve it by sending in troops in violation of federal law. And when it comes to National Guard, that also could be in violation of federal law, depending on what they do. But also, it does Bigfoot the local control that every politician always used to claim that they support, right? What about local government is closest to the people and they should be deferred to? They're the ones who govern best. Throw that mantra out the window, just as the same as other typical Republican mantras like less government, lower taxes, yeah, for the rich, right? How about less debt? How about free trade? Right? I mean, all these things, let's live your life. The free state of Florida, it seems that it's free for thee, but not for me. That
part. And again, who benefits? Not the community, not the end user, which is the voter, which is the, grandmother who's just trying to make sure her grandbaby gets to the store and back safely. Like, these people aren't being helped. And that's what makes me so angry about this.
Yeah. Well, it's well said, Melba. And we'll keep following this on Legal AF, where we meet at the intersection of law and politics. That's Melba Pearson, a.k.a. the resident legal diva. I'm Dave Aronberg, former state attorney, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman here on Legal AF. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share with a friend, and leave a comment below. And we'll see you next time.
Make sure to leave a comment because we love getting the questions. So keep them coming.
Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.